In the news this week, the UK fertility watchdog approves procedures to create three-paired babies, a genderqueer identity book is recommended for 7-year-olds, and a successful businessman shares how coming to Christ enabled him to quit drugs. Hello. Controversial procedures to create GM babies with 3 or 4 parents have been approved. Parliament backed the procedures last year, and the Human Fertilisation and Embryology Authority has now given its formal approval. Sally Cheshire, who chairs the HFEA, called it a historic decision. But the Christian Institute warned that problems with the procedures may only arise decades ahead from now, as the techniques require editing the human germline.
This is about creating genetically modified babies with 3 or 4 parents. There are very real safety fears. Nobody knows what the consequences will be if these changes being passed down from generation to generation. Instead of this ethically dubious procedure, we should be looking at adult stem cell research, which offers real hope of treating those suffering from mitochondrial diseases.
A book claiming the phrase boys and girls excludes people who are gender diverse is being targeted at children as young as 7. Can I Tell You About Gender Diversity tells the fictional story of a 12-year-old girl who begins living as a boy by using hormone-blocking drugs. It also says that some everyday phrases ostracize trans-identified and gender-variant young people. The book has been recommended by Educate and Celebrate, a group which has received £200,000 from the government to provide training to school staff and has been praised by Ofsted. Columnist Sarah Vine warned that pro-trans ideology is threatening children's mental health. There must be compassion for the very few who experience gender confusion, but there must also be common sense that this is not something that affects the majority of children. Dr. Helen Roseveare, the renowned English missionary to the Congo, has passed away at the age of 91. As a young woman, Helen felt an increased sense of calling to the mission field and once announced publicly, "I'll go anywhere God wants me to, whatever the cost." She went on to serve the Lord over 2 decades in Africa, enduring war, imprisonment, and great personal suffering along the way. Helen told the BBC about her ordeal during the Congolese Civil War and how God upheld her throughout it.
You never knew tomorrow might be the day you were going to die. But that didn't seem to worry me at all. I just knew I was where I was because God had sent me there. He became more precious to us during the suffering of the rebellion, not less. In fact, the actual night when I myself was actually taken by these wicked men, it was a very cruel and very savage night, and that's the night I was kicked in the face and he held a gun to my head. And it was as though God spoke to me. I was so sure we were going to be killed, but I just said, well, yes, Lord, if you've got a purpose in this, thank you. And immediately I was filled with the most overwhelming sense of peace.
Despite enduring much hardship, she returned to Africa, founding a large medical facility in what is now the Democratic Republic of Congo. After a lifetime on the mission field, she concluded that serving the Lord is the only thing that counts.
You should give the whole of your life to serve the Lord. There's nothing else worth doing. And when you get to the end, nothing else will count except what was done for Him.
And finally, a successful businessman has shared how coming to Christ enabled him to quit drugs and start his own company. Between the ages of 15 and 20, Ryan Longmuir took drugs every day, including heroin, cocaine, ecstasy, speed and Valium. But after being caught smuggling drugs, he was offered a piece of advice that changed his life. A friend told him to pray. I decided to try it, and I got down beside my bed and I said, "I don't believe that there is a God, but if you're real, then show me that you're real, and I'll believe in you." After trusting Christ, he was changed immediately. Drugs lost all their appeal, and he threw away all the substances he had left. He joined a church in Cumbernauld, near Glasgow, where he met his wife, and later started his own catering business. Regis Banqueting now has an annual turnover of £1.3 million, has won several awards, and employs several former drug addicts and ex-offenders. Well, that's all for this week. For regular updates and information on all of our stories, plus much more, visit our website at christian.org.uk. Until next time, goodbye.